Sorry about that. New setup. Good morning, everyone. This is Kathy Mason from MasonWorks Marketing here on Conscious Business Zone with my dear friend, Victoria Reynolds. How are you doing, Victoria?
I am fantastic. Thank you.
Oh, I'm so glad. I am so glad because you just came back from a cool vacation, so you're a lucky girl.
Yeah, I was traipsing around the East Coast with my 16-year-old son.
Like that is so cool. And how do you feel? Do you feel the energies are starting to come around to the light?
Yeah, it is. Well, what I'm sensing is that there's a separation that's happening, not to be confused with division. That's, I think, where we have to decipher between the two, because we've been living in a very divided and divisive world for a very, very long time. People think it's only been the last, couple of years. No. It's just become very obvious the last couple of years.
Right.
But the division's been going on for thousands of years. What's happening now is a separation between the old world and the new world. So the old world feels like it's becoming more extreme and more afraid and more controlled, if you will, where the new earth, the new consciousness is expanding and growing. So, and we were talking about this years ago when you and I first met, this great awakening that's coming. We're in the middle of it right now. And so it's really exciting to see people all over the world starting to have their awakening experiences. Millions of people all over the world having their awakening experiences.
Well, this has been interesting to see that. I'm sorry I interrupted, but I think it's really interesting to look at it in a positive way, because you and I always are doing that. I think that's part of what we offer to people is a positive change is good. And change is part of the contrast. That's why we came into physical, was to experience that. But so many people changes, they belabor it, and they make it bad.
Mm-hmm. Well, because it's scary. For a lot of people, change is scary. I find change to be exciting.
Well, you and I make change. If we don't have it, we make it.
Yeah, I get bored with the status quo pretty quick.
Well, so you were all over the place. You live in California and you're East Coast. So the contrast is always a lot different anyway. The energies are so different from each coast. Mm-hmm. And you're in LA, which still is more like New York than rest of California probably. But could you really tell a difference do people seem like they're getting more kind and more aware, or could you not tell?
Well, it's interesting because there are some people that are becoming more kind, and then the others who are not, who are becoming more angry.
Oh, yeah.
And so it's really interesting to see that, where people before would be kind of more neutral. There's less of that neutrality. And so when we were in New York City, for example, I'd stop and ask questions, and some people were really kind and helpful, and some people were just mean. And so it's just interesting to see the difference. But I don't know. I have so much faith in humanity anyway. Most people are genuinely kind, caring, compassionate people. People love helping. They love being helpful. There are just some people who are so into their own drama that find being helpful to be like an inconvenience for them. But I think most people like being helpful. So we asked for help a lot.
Yeah.
Never been on the train. Every one of our flights were late. Every one of our hotels were messed up. And one of the things that was really great was to see my son being so proactive and asking for help. Oh, that was really cool to see. And I told him yesterday when we were getting our last flight home, how proud I was of him for just going and asking for help. And that, because that's something that a lot of people don't have the fortitude to do. They're afraid to ask for help. And so it was really cool to see him just be proactive and go up and ask what was going on. And
that's cool. That's so cool. So the reason why I was asking all of this is I really see there's almost two different perspectives of life, and maybe there always was, and I just didn't realize it until now. But what I'm seeing is I'm really seeing the people that are pro humanity, I guess is what you want to say, or have a connection and a trust with a higher source. Those people are like, how can I serve? How best do I serve? What else do I need to know? Who else do I need to partner with? They're actually in play.
right.
Whereas, and I like that a lot. But that's why I was wondering is if we're seeing the contrast so that we can choose, or if we're seeing that that's just the way it's going to be, because a lot of the psychics and the futurists were talking about two Earths. They were talking about a division where the third dimensional will stay there and the fifth dimensional will evolve. And how do you see this change?
Well, it took me a while to understand that, because I was seeing this two Earth split happening, beginning of 2020, I started seeing this literally like a cell dividing.
Right.
And two different Earths. And I kept asking, Spirit, I don't understand. Can you please explain this to me? And so what I was shown is that there are two completely different realities coexisting on the same planet. So it's not like there's a spaceship that's going to come and take people off to another planet. If the spaceship comes, don't get on it, or that the ascension is this, that everybody else is going to be left behind and only people who are ascended are going to get up and go someplace else, or that a spaceship's going to come and take all of the 3D people off to another planet to experience 3D elsewhere. I've heard every story. And what my understanding is that we will experience two different realities on the same planet. And we're starting to see that.
Yes.
We're experiencing everything that's happening in our world from a love-based perspective. How can I serve? How can I cooperate? How can I help? How can I raise my own consciousness so that the collective consciousness raises up? And it's all about seeing this human experience through the eyes of love. And then you have the other consciousness, the old world, the new earth, as opposed to the old world, right? And the old world consciousness is very fear-based.
Right.
How can I be safe? How can I be secure? How can I stay protected? How can I stay inside and not do anything because I'm afraid to do anything? So it's all fear-based. How can somebody else make my needs met? How can I look out for just myself? What's in it for me?
Right.
And so we're starting to see those two completely different worlds, experiences happening on the same planet. But what I was being shown is that initially it's a third of humanity starts to ascend into this new earth love-based consciousness. A third of humanity gets not stuck on this bridge, but there's a bridge between the 3D reality and the 5D consciousness. And the 4D is that bridge that we all have to cross to move into 5D consciousness. And that 4D bridge is where we process our lives and we process what we're seeing and experiencing. And that's where the love consciousness starts to show up in our lives, and we start to see what the old world looks like. So, and then there are going to be, for a while, a third of humanity that stays in that 3D fear-based reality. Eventually, everyone, I was shown no one gets left behind.
Right.
Eventually, everyone will move out of the old world and into the new earth, except for those that transition out, because people are always coming in and transitioning out. So those that transition out won't ascend, but it's not like they're going to get stuck in the matrix and can't get out because the veil of the matrix is dismantling, right?
Well, the thing is that people like you and me see that it's a matrix, and we're kind of playing with it. So, so the thing is there's two different ways to look at this. The opportunity is to be on the cutting edge, like Abraham. When you think of Esther Hicks, she's always talking about we're on the cutting edge of creation. Well, hell, yes. I mean,
Yeah.
that's what's available if we can get out of fear, if we can get out of pain, because you were talking about the people that you interrupted walking down the street that reacted, they're in their drama. That's pain. That's being triggered on every level and not getting a chance to have peace at all, which doesn't serve anyone.
Right.
But so this is what, so I want to say hi to Flo, Denise, and Zana. Hello, you guys. And if you have questions, please give Victoria a chance to give you her perspective, because she is very, very enlightened with wonderful information for all of you. So Victoria, so the reason why I'm asking all this is that I'm hoping that you'll explain how you got, using the bridge analogy again, because I love that. I use it all the time. Because you grew up with a lot of trauma. You grew up in, well, you can tell your story, but you grew up with a lot of trauma. Then you wake up, then you really wake up. Because I've watched this. I mean, I don't know how long we've been friends, 8 years or 10 years or something. I've been watching
like that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so cool to watch. So could you give us a little clue as to, I mean, because I think that what's happening is the capacity to hold more light is there for the asking. But people don't quite know how to hook up to ask.
Well, and a lot of people don't even know that it's there. That's what's fascinating. So I noticed this morning there's somebody who discovered me on Facebook overnight, and he's asking me questions on every one of my posts. What is spirit? What is light? What is this? What is that? What is awakening? What is ascension? I'm like, okay, either this guy is like digging at me because he's a scientist, or he's just waking up and wants to know, oh my gosh, there's this whole world I didn't even know existed. Please explain it to me. And so it's really interesting. I love watching the waking up experience, because it's like the light bulb turns on and suddenly everything makes so much more sense.
Yes.
And suddenly you're starting to see, oh, everything I thought I believed true.
Right.
So that's when you pop out of the 3D onto the 4D bridge, because then you pop into the other side of the veil, which I was explained, Spirit explained to me years ago, it's the veil of deception. Now, we used to have to die to get to heaven, and we don't have to anymore. Now we just pierce the veil, and then we can begin our ascension process. So it's like once someone pierces the veil and their eyes open up, then suddenly the entire world takes on a whole new experience. And it's like, explain this, explain that, tell me this, tell me that. And there's almost like this voracious need to understand. And people start, so the bridge isn't a bridge that goes this way. It's actually a bridge that goes this way. So people start spiraling up the spiritual spiral. And that's really fun to participate in and to watch. And now I assist people through that ascension process. So you had asked me to talk a little bit about my background. So I grew up in a fundamentalist polygamist cult in the mountains of Montana. It is very much what I now call fear disguised as love, which exists in pretty much every system on our planet is based on fear disguised as love. And that in that environment, I endured emotional, spiritual, sexual, all of the, mind, body, heart, and spirit assault, if you will, or more of what I would consider now to be an insult
Okay.
not much assault. So it's an insult to my body, an insult to my spirit to have experienced these experiences, because I no longer consider them to be trauma.
That's good.
Because I've flipped the script on them. So now they're just learning experiences that insulted my childhood. They no longer affect me as an adult because I've gone through all this work. And so now when something comes up that triggers, I get to look at it and go, oh, look at you. You're still in there needing some attention.
There's still that little bit.
Yeah, they every once in a while something comes up, and then you just kind of go, oh, okay, this is just learning this from now learning it at a different level. So, because the learning is never complete. People are so funny. They come in and they say, I want to learn, I want to ascend, and they don't understand the reason that they're here is actually the process itself of learning how to find our light in the darkness and learning how to find our loving essence within the fear.
Exactly.
Eventually that density will disappear and we won't have as much. The darkness will only be, as a friend of mine says, how suffering happens, how long we suffer is a choice.
Right.
So it's not that life instantly becomes perfect. Stuff happens. But how long we stay in it individually and collectively will start to shrink.
Perfect. So you had challenges that a lot of us didn't have. We had different traumas, but you obviously were highly sensitive, and it opened the door to you gaining your superpowers. I mean, that's what a lot of the stuff is, that it may have been awful, but then it opened up the whole beauty of your expression. So that's why so many people have near-death experiences or spiritual awakenings after trauma, after body trauma or psychological trauma. So you wake up and how long ago was this when, because it was a while ago.
Well, I explained to people that awakening isn't a one-time instant thing.
Right.
So my awakenings have been at various points throughout my life. My first one was around the age of 17 when I had to choose life over death, because I was ready to commit suicide. And then I had another awakening in my early 20s when I discovered spiritual center. And I discovered self-help books, and that helped. That was the beginning of me understanding that the way that I grew up, which was this belief that only through this, not just only through me can I get to God, which is what Christians believe, but it was only through our little teeny tiny cult can we get to God. And all of the fear-based beliefs, that what I started to discover was that the fear-based beliefs themselves were more traumatic, more of an insult to my soul than any of the physical stuff that happened to me.
Wow.
And processing my fear-based beliefs has been, that's my soul's purpose now, is just to assist other people in processing their fear-based beliefs, because it's our beliefs that keep us stuck in the 3D, not the experiences.
Well, you use the term fearless and free as part of your as your offering and what you represent in your gift. Could you talk a little bit about that? Because I think that's so pertinent to this time. I think so many people need support there.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's a little bit different than fearlessness, the way that most people think of fearlessness, which is, I'm going to get past my fear and I'm going to go, right? That is more of a physical, egoic way of moving through fear.
Okay. Yeah.
So for me, what this is all about is freedom from the fear-based reality.
Right.
Which is all spiritual freedom. Ultimately, every freedom on our planet is spiritual, to spiritual freedom. Every experience that we have on our planet ultimately is is a spiritual experience. Once we start to understand that our human experience is more than just our physical experience, that we are all spirit having a human experience, then we start to see that everything we experience is really a spiritual experience.
Exactly.
So now what I'm doing is teaching people how to process those fear-based beliefs so they can free themselves from this fear-based matrix and move into a reality that's based in love, which is the heaven on earth we've been talking about since forever. Human beings have been saying peace on earth and heaven on earth for as long as recorded history, right?
Right.
And we're finally able to access that because by raising our consciousness, we are actually bringing heaven to earth. And in order to like bringing it into our experience, that's why it isn't a split of realities or a split of worlds. We're actually bringing heaven to earth and experiencing heaven on earth as a reality here. And we do that by processing our fear-based beliefs.
Well, so this is interesting. There's several different layers of all this. Part of it is your concept of it and your storyline, but a lot of it is your nervous system. It's actually physiological that when you get triggered into fear, it's that fight and flight. I mean, it's not just a mind experience, it's physical. So how do you find that you help people through that? Because how do you reach them, first of all, when they get triggered like that?
Well, a huge part of it is understanding that it's a trigger. So a lot of people don't even know that what they're experiencing is a trigger, and it's always related to something they experienced as a child.
Right.
And so we have, when we're really, really small, we have pretty much everyone has an experience when they're a child, usually between the ages of 4 and 6, that plants their soul's purpose or their primary belief. And then as they go through life, everything that happens kind of compounds on that primary belief. And so we get triggered. In my case, I was 4 years old and I broke my leg and I spent a month in the hospital. That was my experience, my anchoring experience.
Ah.
Yeah. And there was another one that happened when I was about 14 months old. So everything that happens in our life kind of compounds on top of that until we start to peel it off. It's like peeling off the layers of an onion, that's because they're kind of stinky. So we start to peel off the layers and understand that all of it is layering on top of these experiences, these fear-based beliefs that we started to experience when we were really, really small.
Yeah.
And getting to those core beliefs and it starts to unravel everything. The thing is that when people are so much in fear, it's hard to get to them. That's why they have to have an awakening experience, like a near-death experience or what I call a holy shift.
Yeah.
Because it has to be something that basically knocks them out and brings them to their knees in a sense and wakes them up.
Right.
To the point where they do start asking for help. But unless people get to the point where they understand they need help and the way they're moving through life isn't working for them, they're not even open. They're in self-defense.
Right. That's what I mean, the thing that I'm seeing is that when people are triggered, first of all, it's a shock because you don't know that you did that. It's like, how did I even do that? That wasn't my intention at all. I thought I was communicating. And then when the trigger, then to try to unpack it, if they're willing to unpack it, and then see what it was and how to get through it, how to transcend it. That's where I would send them to you.
Like if they're open. So I've had conversations with people where I trigger something, and what I say and what they hear are two very different things, because of their perception of the experience, and they are completely unaware that it's triggering something from someplace else, and it's not from me at all. And sometimes I've had to come back and say, that's not what I said. This is what you heard. This is what I said.
Wow. Wow. Because that you become an archetype. All of a sudden, you become an archetype.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Wow. That's interesting. Well, Zana said, can Victoria please talk about her life experience examples of this transformation from fear to freedom? So I think that's what we're doing right now.
Okay.
But I guess what I experienced, Santa, was that when I met Victoria, we were both taking a class together, and she was just starting to embody. Her soul was just starting to embody. Okay. She said, yes, she already talked about it as I posted. Thank you. But I think this is really impertinent for us to talk about this, because I believe that lots of people are going to wake up right now. And the first thing that and I have no idea where I got this, but I feel that lots of people are going to become empathic that weren't before. And they're going to not know if the energy and the motion and the situation is theirs or the person standing next to them, because they'll be receiving that frequency and they're not going to know how to handle it. And so it might be someone else's fear that you're even feeling.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I've experienced that. And I think part of this is the education of letting people know what you're feeling isn't your own. Now, there have been times in the last year that I have gone into extreme grief. And I've sat with that and understand, oh, this isn't mine.
Wow.
This is the collective grief. And so a lot of times people experience a grief or a pain and not understand, like I don't have anything to be sad about. Why am I sad? That it's not theirs.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah.
They might be picking up someone else's sadness. And empaths tend to have issues with depression for that reason. Because they feel depressed. It's not their own. It's actually other people's sadness that is affecting them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think so much of this is language and awareness and choosing. So this is called Conscious Business Zone, because this is geared towards giving people conscious choices, conscious tools, conscious aspects, so they can choose a better, happier life, and play the game of life. Assuming there is a game playing, we want to play it. We want to win it or keep it going on the high level. So, so you offer on your website, which I'm going to show a banner right now about your website with your website address on it, which is victoriareynolds.com. You offer a free book on your website that helps people that are just starting. And a lot of the people on this call that are watching it now or watching it later, may be further along the road, but even if they are, this book is a wonderful resource. Could you talk a little bit about your free offer?
Sure. Yeah, it's a book that came to me about 6 months ago. It really didn't. Spirit started telling me years ago that I needed to write a glossary of terms, and I just never got done. And I just sat down last fall, and it just came. It's an explanation of what's happening on the planet right now. It is, for a lot of people, it is for spiritual newbies or people who are just just having their awakening experience. And it's explaining what's happening on the planet right now. And then there's an entire chapter dedicated to terms so that people can understand the terminology of what they're seeing and hearing around them. And one of the reasons I did that is because I remember when I first had my awakening experience and I started hearing words and I had no idea what they meant. And I then my higher self started explaining to me what these words meant. So I explain them in this book in a way that Spirit has explained them to me.
Yes, it's a wonderful resource, and it's a good refresher. And a lot of times, it was interesting. Denise, I love Denise Chadwick. She put on here, yes, the 4D bridge is like the black keys between the white ones. Isn't it beautiful? She's so cool. Anyway, the thing that you see is that people are using all these words, dimensions and consciousness and all these words, and they may not have the same meaning to everyone. Karma, dharma, all of these words. So if nothing else, having this glossary of information that helps everybody communicate from the same starting point is really important. And it gives people a chance to not be afraid. I mean, your whole thing is fearless and free. So the idea of us talking all the same language, communicating from the same level is a great starting point.
Right. Because everything that presently exists in our reality is attempting to create division so that we can't come together and have unity and conversations to move humanity into this next world that we are wanting to create, which is fear-based. And it's not, I don't get into conspiracies and things like that. It's more of understanding that the fear and darkness does what it does best. One, which is keep us in darkness and keep us in fear and keep us in deception. The darkness itself does not want us to wake up. And that as long as we are divided amongst ourselves, we're easier to conquer and control. This is about each one of us consciously choosing
Exactly
to no longer buy into the division.
Right.
And no longer buy into the fear disguised as love. And that takes a lot of awareness to be able to decipher the difference, because fear is so good at disguising itself.
Right. Well, there's a game in play. And the idea of being conscious is you get to choose how you're going to play it, right, rather than being a victim of it. And that's what I see your work and your breakout of your past has been so that you could assist others as they release their programming. I call it programming because I really don't know what else to call it. Our parents did it with love. They were programmed and they programmed us. But we're really not at even, I mean, we only use a small amount of our brain. We're not at our energy levels that we can hold light. We're not playing with this. We're existing in it. For the most part, humanity is there. And hey, it's time to change that.
Yeah, I actually really like the term programming. So I use the concept of video game. Like we were playing the most complex video game ever created.
Yep.
And once we recognize that's what it is, we can either play the game as it's a game and choose how we're going to play the game, or be one of those, it's like an action-packed video game. So you have some people who are just wandering around in the game and they're aimlessly just there, and then you have some people who are actively playing the game.
Right.
So it isn't about, and some people unconsciously see themselves as victims of the game.
Right.
Once you become conscious, you understand that you've never been a victim.
Right.
You've just had an experience.
Well, you planned it.
Right. Right.
I mean,
well, and that's
really go, oh, what was I thinking?
Well, as souls, we choose as souls to come here and play a very difficult game. This is advanced. This is like advanced school for the soul. And even those who are young souls, if you will, come here knowing that they're going to get an advanced course.
Right.
And so once we wake up and realize we're playing a video game, and that our higher selves, where our soul is actually the one playing the game, then we can play it more consciously and choose, oh, when this comes into my life, what do I do with this experience?
Right.
And all the stuff that I experienced as a child that laid the groundwork for my life purpose and who I'm here to be. Oh, I was just laying the groundwork.
Exactly. That's such a different perspective than doing the all this forgiveness work and all, when you flip to that knowing and work through your processes, it's a different way of looking at it rather than labor. Because it seems like I have a girlfriend that lived in a Course in Miracles community for 8 years. 8 years she did forgiveness work. And I can't even imagine, that's heavy duty. I mean, I can see doing it in a community where that's the practice in the morning, the meditation, everything. I mean, that's deep. That's a lot of work. I'm not sure that this segment of history, human history, requires that kind of work. Do you agree?
Well, I think once we understand that the forgiveness work is really self-forgiveness, forgiving others becomes pretty easy.
Yes.
And so the focus for me is on self-forgiveness. Yep. And once we start moving through self-forgiveness, then forgiving others. I mean, the word forgiving actually means forgiving means already given. So once we do our self-forgiveness work, forgiving other people for their choices and their experiences, doesn't have to be a lifetime process. Now we can go in and forgive what we've experienced in past lives because we carry past life traumas forward. What's great about this lifetime is that we can forgive every lifetime we've ever had.
Exactly.
Right now, so that the karma does not go forward ever.
Right. Okay, so give us some insights into that, because Denise wrote, I think we're supposed to have fun here.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yes. So how do you feel when you're, because they say all lifetimes are being lived at the same time, and once you release something in this lifetime, it affects all lifetimes. A lot of times that quantum stuff is a little hard to perceive. But how do you help people with that? Because the fearless and free is this first part of being fearless enough to make the steps to see life. And then the freedom, the expansiveness is the freedom. So how do you start with that journey?
I have a process I call the transcendence process. It's based on the book that I wrote, Transcending Fear. I wrote when I was going through my own personal awakening. It's literally my own personal awakening experience and what my higher self taught me to heal my life. And so I wrote, it wasn't even a book. Initially, I would just get these insights. I'm like in the shower and I'd get this, what I now know as a download, but it was like, oh my gosh, and I would just write it down. I had no idea where it was coming from. It was just this brilliant thing. And so I had notebooks everywhere. I wrote it in 2011. It was published in 2012. So it was before smartphones and all that. And so I had notebooks everywhere. So I would just have this like flash of brilliance that would come from somewhere, and I would write it down in a notebook. These were messages that were from my higher self to me about how to heal my life. And I eventually took all these different notebooks and I put them on the computer, and I started to realize, oh, there's this goes with this one, and this. It was like putting together a jigsaw puzzle.
Perfect.
That eventually became Transcending Fear. And as I said, when I wrote it, it was just my own healing experience. And then I understood that if this could help me, it could help a lot of other people too. Yes. And that's why I turned it into a book. And now I teach it as a process.
Perfect. So I think that is a huge gift, and that everyone could use it. I mean, even people that have done a lot of work on themselves, there's always still a little bit more there. And you're being, right now, the contrast, you can't help it but be aware of the fear, whether it's yours or in the field, the global consciousness, because the churn right now is pretty strong. It's pretty strong. Plus, the Schumann resonance was white out yesterday. I mean, we're being hit with solar rays. The Earth is reacting, and those sensitive, like I am and you are being off kilter. And then there's the global consciousness of fear, and so all of this could really help people get out of their fear program.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah, it's a program. It's part of the game, right? This level of the game is the programming of this level of the game. And so we are now deprogramming ourselves and moving up to the next level of the game, where love is the programming rather than fear.
Yay.
And we deprogram ourselves. The programming is coming. I mean, there's a reason it's called television programming.
Right.
There's a reason it's called television. Like, it's telling us a programmed vision. So I turned off my TV because I'm not going to be programmed by anybody. And I'm certainly not going to have other people telling me what vision I need to have.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the reasons that we're feeling so much more fear now, and the fear is becoming more obvious, is because it's being brought to the surface so that we can heal it.
Exactly.
This is a very, very, very important time for humanity.
Yes.
We don't heal our suffering until we see that it exists. So all of that has to be brought to the surface for us to resolve it and for us to transmute it.
Well, we've got to over 2,000 years of this. I mean, when you look at the Buddhist background, the Buddhist and Hindu backgrounds, it's based on that humans suffer. So it's like it's time to break out of that mold. And
that's about 12,000 years. So
12,000 years. Okay, well, I missed a few. Well, and once we find out the real history, it may be a lot more than that, which I'm fascinated with all of the origin stories, and I gobble it up like food. I read all these books, and because I really feel like there's something so much value in the origin information that's going to come back. It's like it's going to be rediscovered and re-implemented here, because it's like we're in a wave. And yeah.
Well, this turn around the galaxy.
Yeah.
Approximately 25,000 years.
Right.
What Spirit was explaining to me a few years ago is it's around 11,000 between 10 and 12,000 years we've been living in this fear-based reality. That's when fear came to the planet, when we went around the dark side of the galaxy. So we only know about this one turn around the galaxy. What the history that existed before this turn around the galaxy, we don't know. Although some people there are some stories about Lemuria and that, when we lived in this past love-based reality.
Yes.
And then it turned into a fear-based reality. And now we're moving back into a love-based reality.
Yes.
And so how long our planet's been doing that, I don't know.
Right. Because we don't know if we were terraformed even before that. So that's what, see, I love all this stuff. I love all this stuff. But the reason I'm so excited to introduce your work to anyone that gets to watch this, and I hope you all share it, is that this is a opportunity, no matter how much work you've done on yourself, to really release and not be affected by the external forces that are, it's speeding up it. All of the contrast, the people that have contrasting views, they're vocal now. They're not, I mean, they're saying things that they just thought before. And all the contrasts, I mean, we were talking, race and religion and all of these contrasts that are programs. They're all programs. We need a toolkit to work with it.
Well, and those are all coming to the surface for resolution.
That's right.
All of them.
Yes.
Nothing is, this is the time that people called the apocalypse, which is, we were told to be afraid of this horrible apocalypse that's coming. The word, it actually means the great revealing of all things once hidden.
Right.
So we are in the great revelation, which means skeletons are coming out of the closets, dust is coming out from under the rug, the diseases that have been hidden are coming out to the surface. And so for people who don't understand, this is all an important part of the process. It's very scary.
Right.
If we understand that it's all part of the ascension process, then we understand that we're all part of dismantling and dissolving and transmuting all of that as it comes to the surface. As I was saying earlier, you can't heal the disease if you don't know the disease exists. So that's what's happening, is all of our collective disease and our disease programming.
Sometimes you and I talk about integrity and about honesty, and I'd love for you to share that too, because that's what we're seeing, is the truth is being revealed. Right.
And so what's happening right now is that all of the dis-ease, if you will, mentally, emotional, spiritual, physical, is all coming to the surface. And it's coming to the surface so that we don't carry it forward.
Perfect. Yep. But it's also being revealed. So
that's why it's being revealed.
But that's what's causing the high contrast, because some people, when they're in shock of the revelation, causes fear, which causes a strong emotion and a reaction. But that is like the first step. It's almost like there's steps of awareness, where the shock and then the process. So that's what you're transcending.
So yes. So what I was shown years ago when I first when I went through my personal awakening experience, is that we go through the 5 stages of grief.
Yeah.
When we have this awakening experience, when we start to see the programming that has occurred on the planet, and we start to recognize all the stuff that's coming to the surface, there is that natural grieving process. So the first one is going to be, first there's shock and denial, and there's anger, and then eventually you get to the end where you get to acceptance, and then we move past it. But everybody's going to go through that grieving process. The grieving is grieving for the old reality that we thought.
Yes. Yes, I think this whole past year, that's been, at least for me, the other thing that you've been really good is about purging physical things and changing. I still am working on that. But that not only do you have this way to look every process and do it. It's not being aware of it and, oh, I'll get to it later. It's going through it.
Right.
Yeah. But you, and so everyone that's on this call, and if you're sharing this with your friends, please go to Victoria's site and download that book and get started with learning how you can either help yourself or help others with a new understanding of what's really going on here, and how I mean, you stood in line to get these bodies to be here right now so that you could help, or that you could grow, or that you could make a difference. So I wanted to next, I'm going to show your the site again. But I wanted to next talk about, because we've talked about fearless and free, want to talk about the 6D money tree. So a year or so ago, you and I talked about this, and you have been using and creating money from the void in an alchemic way. And you named it the 6D money tree. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Sure. And actually, it's been more than a year, because you've been bugging me to teach this for, I would say, since 2018. Wow. It's the first time.
Okay.
Like, oh, okay. I needed to get out of my own way. And so 6D Money Tree is about how to grow prosperity in the field of creation, into quantum fields. So outside of our physical reality is a field where all things, I think it might also be Rumi's field too. It's like it's the field where all things are created. And it is where creation begins before it physically manifests. So we can use that creative fields consciously to create our physical reality.
Right.
So I started learning how to use this field of creation to grow my prosperity in the form of a money tree. So, when people say money doesn't grow on trees, I always laugh. I'm like, it certainly does. You just have to know how to use it. And so I created a program around everything that I know about creating prosperity etherically, and then having it manifest physically. Okay. And so that's what this program is all about. Is before I turned it into a program, it was just things that I did. And again, like my book, Transcending Fear, was taking all of these different things and compiling them into a system that makes sense, into a program that makes sense.
Well, I'm so grateful you did. And I can't think of a better time than right now for people to, this journey that you take them on to create money is only one thing that you can create from this field. And but it's step by step.
Yeah. And that field is where we create everything.
Right.
It's just learning how to consciously create with the universe. And yeah, like we were saying, you can use it for anything. And one of the misperceptions about money as a whole is that money is simply one physical manifestation of prosperity. So prosperity, the word prosperity itself is about the positive abundance of the universe. So everything in the universe was created to prosper. Exactly. The pine tree outside is prosperous because it's got plenty of seeds and branches, and it's massive and it's prospering. That's the pine tree in my neighbor's yard. So if we understand that everything in the universe is created to prosper, money is only one manifestation of prosperity. Exactly. That's why you can use it to use the field to prosper in any way. And as I was saying on an interview yesterday, sometimes money is simply a means for getting that thing that you desire. Sometimes you can bypass money entirely and go straight for that thing you desire. It's understanding that prosperity doesn't always look like money. So the money tree is a way of having your physical desires met. Perfect. By our consciousness rather than hard work, because hard work is one of the fear-based beliefs. The hand-me-down beliefs that I talk about.
That's right.
The idea that it has to be hard work is another hand-me-down belief. It's simply not true.
That's right.
No, and it even says in the Bible, life is that we might have joy. I mean, we are intended to be joyful and prosperous and loving and happy and have fun, and in this game that we have, that we all chose to incarnate into.
That's right. That's right. Well, and that's why I'm so excited about this new course, which is going to be launched 8/8 on the Lionsgate. What Victoria has done is given us a step-by-step map to a new way to play with higher frequencies, so that you can actually be the higher frequency, and then you're a match to what you desire. And it's beautifully done. It's really an amazing gift. Is there anything else that you'd like to share about it so people understand? There's 9 modules.
Mm-hmm.
Is there?
It is really, really fun.
Yeah.
It is the most fun program I've ever taken. Spirit made it very clear to me that fun is the funding of the universe. We need to get fun and playful with everything, like lighthearted. I mean, that's what the term lighthearted means. We bring the light in and we become lighthearted, and then life becomes fun, and we let go of all the heaviness and all of that. And so this program, it's fun. I went back through it to make sure it was ready for launching, and I had the best time going back through it, because I'm laughing and playing with it the whole time I'm doing it, and thinking, "Oh my gosh, this is not like any. It is not like any class anyone has ever taken."
Right.
It's not homework, and it's not heavy, and it's all about playing in the field of creation.
Well, yeah. I want to invite people to Victoria. Where is the link to where they should sign up for to be notified? Is it?
Yeah. So if they go to my website, they'll see the logo there for it, and if they click on that, it takes them to a landing page, and the landing page tells them more information about what is in the program.
Okay.
And but the link to purchase it is not live yet. So,
we'll be on the 8th.
Right. It will be by 8/8. But what they will see is a list of, where they heard about the program from, so that I know, Kathy, I have you on there, so people know how to get credit. So the person that referred them gets proper credit for referring them. And it also puts them on an email list, so that when the product does launch, and so for those of you who are watching this, if you heard about this through Kathy Mason,
doesn't matter.
Click on that you heard it from her, and then once the program goes live, I will be sending out an email letting everybody know that the program is live and ready to purchase.
Well, the reason I'm excited about it is that I still think that garbage in, garbage out, that if people are stuck and they're worried about their finances, or they're worried about their future, this is the toolkit that you need to focus your energy on. It's not going to take you forever to start the process. And it's like the law of attraction meets usability, or what's the right practical law of attraction, because the law of attraction, when you listen to it, you go, oh yeah, I'm in, or I'm out, or I'm in the vortex. This is actually processes that get you in, and help you co-create with the universe at a really high level. So I'm excited about the offering, and I think it's just perfect timing with all this contrast going on, because rather than fight what you don't want, put that energy into what you do want.
Yeah, you know, it's funny. I have to tell you the visual I was getting with the garbage can, garbage in, garbage out. I was seeing a garbage can.
Yeah.
And you take the garbage can and you dump it out, and then you turn it into a vessel for receiving.
That's right. That's perfect. That's perfect, because that is our opportunity if we love ourselves and put the energy into the good stuff. This is all available, and the veils are not strong if they're here at all right now. So if you want to co-create with the universe, this is a fast acting toolkit.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. We're inching closer and closer to instant manifestation. So if people can hold their vibration at that frequency, as we've talked about before, that the new prosperity programs, the new money is coded at such a high vibration that only people who raise their vibration will be the ones who will access it, because new money is going to start flooding the planet.
Right.
And it is about intentionally raising our vibration up to be able to receive it. And it's being coded that high vibration so that the people who are now in fear and greed and control won't be able to access it. We're literally flipping the money tables. So humanity needs love to have money. And that's what's that is what's going to start happening. And the more of us who can flip our prosperity consciousness into love, the faster we actually create it for the whole of humanity and for all of Earth. So that's why we needed to do it now.
Right. Because we talked about it and it was like, no, it doesn't feel right yet. No, it doesn't feel right yet. But right now is like the perfect time. So Victoria, what we do need to sign off. So I wanted to make sure that everyone had a way to reach you and to be able to, if you want to do one-on-ones with Victoria, you also can do that on her website. And I mean, she is a very talented spiritual luminary, very talented. So do you want to give them a chance to find you?
Yes. Yeah, so the best way to find me is on my website, victoriareynolds.com. If you want to take, so I have the Transcendence Process class. The next class starts in September. I don't have an exact start date yet, but it's going to be after my kids go back to school. So the next class starts in September. And then I do one-on-one spiritual counseling for people who have issues, issue resolution. If they need, direction with their soul's purpose. I actually have the ability to communicate with other people's higher selves to bring in messages for them. If you have healing that you need to do with loved ones who have passed, I communicate with past loved ones to heal that relationship. So it's whatever a person feels called that they need help with, I'm able to help with that on a spiritual level. And then we have the 60 Money Tree program. So, and then I've got books on there. They're easy to read books. So if you're struggling with issues with self-worth, I have a book about self-worth, which I find is the biggest reason most people aren't prosperous, is because of the global disease of unworthiness. And that, so that's the best way to reach me. And if you want to book a personal appointment, then just shoot me an email and I'll set it up that way, because I'm still working on how to find the right calendar for me.
Well, you're also on Facebook, so they can find you here, and you do a show as well. So please do yourself a favor and notice what Victoria is doing, and check it out, because between her YouTube, where there's these enlightened videos where she interviews other luminaries and other incredible beings. There's so much great information here for you that could make your journey so much easier. So thank you, Victoria, for everything you do. I love everything that you do, and I appreciate you so much.
Thank you, Kathy. And likewise,
Yes.
I'm one of your biggest fans.
Yeah, ditto back there, back at you. Anyway, okay, well, I guess we've got to rock.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Victoria.
You're welcome.
Please share, everybody. Bye-bye.